students really take on that burden of wanting to do it all now because they think it's going to help them later, but all it's doing is setting them back today. Ask Dr. Gray Premed Q&A, sponsored by Blueprint MCAT. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. What can I help you with?
I am a mom of 5, a non-traditional student, very non-traditional, of course. Having 5 kids now, I know, why you go to college right after high school. But so I have always struggled with self-doubt, always. So, from the time I was in high school, somebody says, oh, well, chemistry is hard. So I'm like, okay, I won't take it, because I don't think I can do it. So my question is more like, how do you keep up your confidence? I took chemistry, this semester, and I actually did really well. So, that was kind of a feather in my cap and kind of, tells me, keep going.
Yeah.
But, I have, with times changing, things, they're never the same. How do you keep up confidence through the whole process?
Yeah.
That's my big question.
Yeah. You do it day by day is the answer. If you zoom out and you look at this whole process, it looks insurmountable, right? All of the classes, all of the tests, all of the money, all of the unknown of applying to schools and hopefully getting accepted by one person seeing you. You have the insecurities of being a mom of 5. Are they going to hold that against you? Am I too old? All of this stuff.
Yeah.
That if you zoom out, it just eats you alive.
It does.
I know.
It does.
I know. And so you can't do that, unfortunately, right? It's good to understand where you're going, but I'm not the best with analogies. I think I'm really good with analogies, and then people are like, Ryan, you're not very good with analogies. But it's like running a marathon, right? If you were to think about all 26 miles that you have to run and all of the steps that it takes to run 26 miles, it's like, why would I do that? But you don't do that. You run one step and then another step and then another step, and that's all you think about in that moment. And then if you let yourself kind of wander and think about that, you're like, oh my God, I still have 13 miles to go, right? You just do one step after another step. And so you allow each day to dictate your confidence in that day. And when you have bad days, and you will, you think about yesterday and you go, well, yesterday was a really good day and today was a bad day. That's okay. I know that I'm still on my trajectory to get into medical school, that this is still the path that I want. This is still what I need to do. And bad days are going to happen. I'm not going to ace every test, and that's okay. But this is what I want. And just look at each day as its own little mini victory, and don't worry about the big picture. Just allow yourself to go step by step by step by step. Because if you do zoom out and you're constantly thinking about those next 10,000 steps, it's just not going to work out very well.
Definitely what I've been doing is, putting the cart before the horse. Like, oh, there's just so much to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like being a freshman. You're like, okay, I got to start looking into the MCAT. No, you don't have to start looking into the MCAT. You have to worry about those classes freshman year. You have to worry about being a good student right now. The MCAT will come. Applications will come. Writing your personal statement, writing your extracurriculars, writing your secondaries, preparing for interviews, all of that will come when it's time to do those things. There's a thing in the entrepreneurial world, the business world, called just-in-time learning. And that is, it's a very similar mindset of take each day as it comes. Students who freshman year, sophomore year are already thinking about the MCAT, already thinking about interview prep. They're trying to cram too much into a space where it just doesn't fit because you're supposed to be doing something else in that moment.
Right.
There's another time later on when you're supposed to be doing MCAT prep, when you're supposed to be doing interview prep. And those are separate times. And so just-in-time learning says, hey, learn what you need to learn when you need to learn it, not before. Allow what you need to learn today to be what you focus on and don't worry about tomorrow yet.
I like that philosophy.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because you're like, but Dr. Gray, it's so competitive to get into medical school, and I want to stand out, and I want to, and students really take on that burden of wanting to do it all now because they think it's going to help them later, but all it's doing is setting them back today.
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of the one thing they're supposed to focus on, they're focused on 4 different things because that's what they think is going to help them get ahead, and it just doesn't.
Right. And like with kids, you have to plan. So like I'm trying to like plan ahead.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to just put down and the one day at a time.
I love Mike Tyson's quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Right? You have this perfectly laid out plan, and then kid number 1 gets sick, and then 3 weeks later, kid number 3 is sick, and then the kid number 5 is sick, and then it's just like, why the heck did I plan all that stuff? Because just life gets in the way, especially as a mom of 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So,
luckily, I've been blessed to have a really good, support system through everything, but I'm still like, okay, like I will get I got a C on an exam, and I was like, no, my life is crumbling. And my husband was like, but you aced every other test. Chill out.
Yep, exactly. Good husband, chill out. It's which is never something you want to say, right? Just relax, just calm down. That never works. But just take it in perspective, right? It's one test in many, and it's not going to set you back.
All right.
Yeah, this process. It took me a long time for me to get to this point where you have to give yourself grace through this process. You have to say, you know what, I got to see, that's okay. I was dealing with my kid, I was dealing with my husband, I was dealing with life, whatever. I didn't prepare as much as I should have. That's okay. Next time I'll be sure to do better. And you go, that's it. That's all. It's one test. It's not a reflection of who I am. It's not a reflection of how smart I am. It's not a reflection of whether or not I'll be able to get into medical school. It just is. It's just to see.
I like that. One day at a time.
One day at a time. I used to be very hard on myself when I was first starting my website and the podcast and everything. I was still working in the Air Force as a flight surgeon. I'd come home and I want to get all this stuff done for the website, and I would be so hard on myself when it's like 1:00 in the morning and I have to go to bed because I have to get up in the morning to go to work, and I didn't accomplish anything. I didn't do anything. I have so much left to do, and it just wasn't the truth, right? I had done a lot, but my expectations were so much more. And I was just being unrealistic with myself. And I've now since given myself grace that, at the end of the day, I've done what I could do. Sometimes I slack off. Most of the time, hopefully I don't. And it just is what it is. There's always more to do, obviously. And I just have to say, you know what, today was a good day. Tomorrow, hopefully, will be better.
I think, I come from, the worst school system in my area. When I went to high school, there was no guidance, nothing. When you graduate high school, my counselors, they never gave me any guidance. I didn't know there were scholarships available. I didn't, and even when I went into community college, I was like, well, I know I want to go into the medical field. This is what I want to do, but they're like, well, you don't have good enough grades from high school, so you really can't do that. So why don't you just do this instead?
Yeah.
So, as, 18, 19-year-old, I was like, maybe I can't do it. Maybe they're right. So I went on that other path, then had kids, and, my plan, fell apart, derailed, and then having kids, I, got a job with state government. And, it's office work. It was never anything that I was passionate about, but I didn't have a degree. And the only way to move up was to get a degree. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll just get a business degree and then I can move up. But again, I was just never passionate about it, never fully wanted to do that. And so I never obviously never completed that.
Yeah.
So here I am now. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, hopefully do all the right things. And that's what I want to do. I want to do all the right things to get where I need to be.
Yeah.
And
well, guess what? Guess what? You don't have to do all the right things. You just have to do mostly all the right things. Mostly all the right things, and you'll still be successful. So this is not an all or none game. You don't have to check every box. You don't have to be perfect. You just need to do what you can do, and especially given the constraints that you have as a mom of 5, then your time for extracurricular activities, your time for studying, all of that will be limited. And so you're going to have to do enough to prove to schools that you are academically capable, and you're going to have to do enough to prove that you've explored this field enough that you understand what you're getting yourself into and that you want it and you like it. And beyond that, you can't compare yourself to the 22-year-old who has no other responsibilities other than school, that they're going out and getting thousands of hours of research and clinical experience and all that. You don't have the time for that. And so, and that's okay, right? Medical schools aren't just looking for who has the most hours, who has the highest GPA. If that's how it worked, it'd be a completely different story, but it's not.
Right.
So, got to run your own race.
Run your own race.
Yeah. What else?
Thank
What else
you.
can I help you with?
Oh man. Well, I listen to your podcast all
Good.
the time.
Okay.
I've been like going back through it, listen. Like I first started just picking out, which ones to listen to, things like that. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start going through.
There's value in all of them.
There is. But
yeah.
for somebody who is, a mother, which ones would you suggest that I listen to? What do you think would benefit me the most from your podcast?
Yeah. Obviously, I'm 400, as I'm recording this, 440 episodes into the pre-med years. I don't remember enough off the top of my head to send you to specific episodes. I have had interviews with moms who are in medical school and getting into medical school and getting through medical school. So those obviously are good ones for you specifically about just being a mom. But other than that, I mean, I'm biased, but I think there's value in all of them. There's a little nugget that you can take from each one.
And that's what I'll just keep doing, listening to all of them.
Yeah, it's kind of an unfortunate burden that I've placed on students of having too many podcast episodes out there. But
I can't really point out exactly, but you just got to find it. It's out there.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything else you're struggling with?
I think it's just, figuring out the timeline for me, because I am such a different type of student. I have so many credits that just don't apply. So I've had to go back and, okay, you have to take, freshman chemistry because you never took chemistry before.
Yeah.
But it's just, how do you navigate the timeline the best?
Yeah, and really, again, it comes down to your specific situation. Are you someone who can go back to school full time, not work, go back to school full time, and
that's what I'm doing, thankfully.
Great.
I'm lucky enough to be able to go to school full time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and so that's your timeline. Obviously, going to school full time, you're taking the classes that you need, getting the degree to graduate as soon as you can, and working in the MCAT and everything else in that same kind of time frame. Have you checked out Mapped yet?
I have not.
Okay, so Mapped may help you because when you log in, when you're what we call onboarded, right? It asks you what school you're at and what year you plan on start medical school, all that stuff. As of a couple weeks ago, we have a customized roadmap specific to your start date for medical school. And so we'll have, hey, during this generic kind of 4-year time frame, you should be getting activities and all this stuff. And then it starts to narrow down, saying, hey, during this couple months, you should start preparing for the MCAT. You should take the MCAT during this time frame. You should start getting your letters of rec. All of that stuff that may be helpful for a non-traditional student like yourself, on top of all the other stuff that MAPT offers.
Okay. All right. I'll check it out.
It may help you there.
All right.
All right. Well, if that's all that you have, I wish you the best of luck on this journey.
Thank you.
Remember that you're going to have bad days, and that's okay. That's not a reflection of if you can do this or that whether or not you're going to be a good physician or a physician at all. It's just one bad day, and you just pick up tomorrow and keep going at it.
Do your best. Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.